Derivatives trading involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results.
So stressful when the world's on fire. Good God. I can't look at this, guys. Like, my strategy is you buy it and you hope that you got a good spot. Yeah, but we all think you're crazy. You don't fight this. No way. The markets are freaking out and you don't think that anything is wrong? Come back tomorrow and I'll lose it all. Should be fun.
Good morning, everybody. Well, we got Friday. That week went by real quickly. We do have US PCE price index coming up here in a moment, so we do have relatively significant news today. But the market seems to be on edge because of possible tariffs. I'm actually like looking at the charts and everything. Let's wait a minute for that news to come through and just view the reaction of that. But like looking at the markets this morning, I don't think that things completely make sense because everything that I was reading was there's going to be tariffs on Sunday, essentially. And the market doesn't seem to be reacting to that at all. So I don't know what the deal with that is. All right, here we go. Liquidity's definitely pulling for it. See that core PCE price index month over month spot 2 versus an expected spot 2. And the headline is in line too. So everything's in line, should be okay. We do have Bowman speaking. So that will be another factor going on here that, you know, might want to be careful about. It doesn't look like there's too much coming through, maybe a little bit of selling. So let's come over and look at the charts. Over here in the S&P 500, well, let's not talk about them first. The treasuries first. We had, some decent upside action in the overnight yesterday, and then it was mostly down during our session. We are slightly lower today we're starting to take a dive right here. Bowman is speaking, saying that the labor market is not especially tight. Okay. S&P 500, we're still trying to recover the gap from the weekend with the whole NVIDIA thing. They are clawing it back. Oil continues its downside pressure. Silver and gold are just gangbusters. I mean, they really went yesterday and they're just still going. I'm seeing a lot of reports about a crunch in a crunch in gold at the exchanges and the repositories. So it seems that maybe some central banks and others are picking up gold, possibly to try and hedge against Donald Trump and everything. I don't know. But that seems to be what drove that move in gold from yesterday. Copper is doing a little bit better today, but it's still kind of within this really volatile range that we've had that's slightly tilted to the downside. And then we got the Japanese yen. Japanese yen's still kind of trucking along. A slight uptrend, which is good. I think that's kind of like what we want to see. And the dollar, I mean, we've had some moves in the dollar, but it hasn't really moved that much. The dollar hasn't really moved that much. Bitcoin, not too much of a change from yesterday, to be honest. So the whole thing is that the news that I was seeing was that Donald Trump yesterday announced that tariffs would be put in place against Canada and Mexico on Sunday night. And I would have thought that that would create a reaction, but I guess the market's saying that they've already priced that in. I don't know. Seth, which broker do you use? I am using EdgeClear. The Canadian dollar sold off really hard. Okay. So maybe the US dollar overall is just not being affected by it very much. Maybe. Okay, that actually is a little bit if we can put tariffs in place and it really hurts Canadian and Mexico trade, but it doesn't really affect the US at all, that's a really big problem for Canada and Mexico, ain't it? Is it better than Iron Beam? I've never really used Iron Beam. I think that Iron Beam is kind of more about the specific platforms that they have, which, I think their thing that they've got, their web platform, is probably the best platform if you want to get started really quickly. Like if you're a beginner and you just want to be getting data today to play with things and stuff, that's like the best place. But in terms of like the broker overall and everything, I don't have enough experience with them to say. I really, really like EdgeClear. But that's because the relationship with the broker and having somebody to be able to talk to when I'm doing something, see if there's anything they can do to help and all of that sort of stuff. That's really, really valuable to me. What do they need to do for Trump to lift tariffs? Well, he wants to make a deal. He thinks that the deal that we currently have with Canada and Mexico is not a good deal for the United States. I almost said a fair deal, but I think that he's kind of saying that they need it so much more than us. We should be able to get a more out of it than we are. Not necessarily what's fair. So the treasuries fell quite a bit further there, but I think that may be because of Bowman's comments. Not that she said anything super groundbreaking or anything, but she did comment on the economy and the labor market and everything, and the treasuries seem to have fallen a little bit further. That blowing my nose there felt so good. A huge wad came out. It was gross. I hope none of you guys are eating breakfast right now. I was watching your videos and want to ask, would you use SPX QQQ? So I am not familiar with what you're talking about when you say GEX. Is that a symbol that you're talking about? Because I've seen or maybe it's you. I keep seeing people mention it, and I don't even know what they're talking about. No, that can't be. Gamma Exposure. Is that a website? Oh, I see. The terminology has shifted. Yeah. So I kind of don't like that terminology though. It's interesting. So gamma exposure is the what is it saying? A measure of how much an option or portfolio's price changes in response to the price changes in the underlying security. Okay, so but yes, if I was trading the indexes, I think that you like almost have to be paying attention to those gamma levels. There are specific prices where there are significant changes in the market maker's gamma exposure, and those can predict, places where price will either slow down or accelerate. It really can. And it's kind of a bit more of a broad-based, like higher level kind of thing, but it's definitely something that can bring flows in and that you want to watch. To look at that stuff, you usually have to pay for a service, so... But I have a video specifically about that. It's called How Gamma Broke the Market. With that said, I haven't been hearing nearly as much about gamma over the past year for some reason. I'm getting a report over the news squawk. Small curiosity here, I guess, but that Donald Trump is going to meet with the CEO of NVIDIA. So that's interesting. I don't know if Bowman said something there that caused everything to come back, but the latest that I'm getting from Bowman is inflation risks remain, rate cuts expected, but data dependent. So maybe they are reading Bowman's speech as not actually hawkish, and they came back up. I don't know. This is a pretty messy action, I must say. You're still searching. Well, so the most popular service that I know of is Spot Gamma. Key daily levels and options analysis. And they've been on all of the major. These guys are gotten pretty big. The Trump Canadian tariffs are really going to hurt the Linus Tech Tips story. Probably. Oh, man. NVIDIA volume and price action looks like that buying into the lows. I really don't think that you can necessarily say that without being able to see the order flow. Funny enough, I already have a chart of that up. I don't know, man. This is just kind of going sideways. So if we had order flow over here, I think that I would be able to glean what might be going on over here in a big. Because one of the issues is that this day on Monday in particular saw insane volume, and so it's kind of hard to sort out what actually, like I saw this one report that like retail traders bought more NVIDIA than like any other day ever. And it's like, well, yeah, but there was like tons of volume overall. So like probably all of the metrics about Monday are going to blow the records out of the water, like things like that. So yeah. Now, like more broadly speaking, if we were just to kind of try and think about this from a a more fundamental perspective, I am not really sure what the impact of this is on the number of GPUs that NVIDIA ships. In the short term, it seems to me that NVIDIA is going to sell out everything that they're making still, especially on the consumer cards. But the real loser in all of this is OpenAI. The real loser of this is OpenAI and Anthropic. The companies that are trying to make the absolutely huge models. And the whole idea over there was that you would have to have the most compute, and they're so far ahead, nobody else would be able to compete with them. And so OpenAI is basically the only game in town when it comes to creating foundational models. That's why it was created as a company that was supposed to be like open source, but then they turned it into a for-profit company and changed the whole purpose of the company, which I'm still kind of sore about, to be honest with you. I'm sure that if Elon Musk was here in the room speaking with me today, that's what I would want to talk to him about, is screw OpenAI for lying to us. But I digress. Now we're finding out that you don't need as much compute to do some of the things that we want to do with foundational models. So that opens up the door for a lot of different competitors to make those foundational models. So that's not very good for OpenAI. That means that there's way more competition and that they don't really have a lock on the market that they thought that they did. I also think that that is a hit to NVIDIA's near-term orders, because if OpenAI is buying up all of the GPUs, OpenAI probably doesn't need to, or possibly just can't, buy as many GPUs as they wanted to. But it might not matter. For instance, the administration wants to invest in it, it seems. So the administration may just make up that difference. It could be that in the longer term, that other companies come along and start competing in that space, and they do want GPUs. And so, like, it could be that NVIDIA ends up being even more valuable. But there would be a transition period if that's the case. So it's kind of interesting. I really think that when we're trying to analyze the flows, that the biggest flow here is that it is a short-term sell event, and NVIDIA takes it on the nose because NVIDIA is the artificial intelligence proxy. And so I would be very careful about watching this move and assuming that it tells us something about what the longer-term demand in NVIDIA actually is, or the longer-term demand for their products. Right? Would it affect what the market is willing to pay for it? Maybe it makes it, maybe it just makes the GPUs, like, maybe they sell the same number of GPUs, but people just don't want them as badly. But I think that there's probably, for me, there's too many variables in that scenario to figure out. Now, going back to the market, another factor that you have to consider is that the impact of order flows is permanent. So, like, it already happened. There has been some impact on the market from this, and that affects all of the flows and feeds back into it, and feeds back into volatility for days and weeks and months to come. So I'm a little bit concerned about the larger market, especially if we start getting tariffs and that brings economic weakness. But I don't know, man. It's very, very curious to me that I'm not seeing huge volatility in the market today because of Canada and Mexico tariffs. So that is really interesting. Kind of wonder, the thing I was thinking about this morning while I was eating breakfast is that I think that it seems like everybody's forgotten the first trade war. Everybody's forgotten Donald Trump's first term. It's been over 4 years. They've all forgotten what happened. Like, at the time, it didn't create inflation. I think that some people are saying, well, yeah, but back then we were kind of dealing with like deflation. And so a little bit of inflation was maybe useful. And now inflation is very much more a problem. Well, I don't think that explains what happened before. I think that before you had this issue that where like certain individual goods went up in price. Definitely they did. But it was relatively narrow set of goods. And it was basically like they just stole demand from other things, right? Like the cost of those goods went up. People weren't able to pay as much for other things. So demand for other things went down, and so the price for those things went down. And overall, if you were to look at CPI or PCE, you didn't see a real change in inflation. If I define inflation as core PCE, okay? So that kind of suggests to me that you do have some room to play with here. If you come in, especially if it's just Canada and Mexico and it's a relatively narrow set of goods, people might complain that maple syrup is more expensive and that wood is more expensive. That's the one that I think will really kind of mess with people. But it won't be like insane. And meanwhile, like Canada's economy will be just absolutely destroyed. So I'm kind of curious to see how this goes. Overall, tariffs is not a good thing. Like, usually everybody loses, but maybe in this particular instance, you really do have enough leverage to really get a deal quickly. I can only hope. Another thing that you gotta watch is that if there are really negative economic consequences from it, like people are losing their jobs from it, it becomes a deflationary impulse. So yeah, I wouldn't, it's not so simple. There's a lot of people that are just like, oh, this will create inflation, and it's like, it's that simple, but it's not. Like, there's so many impacts from this, and we're talking about a very complicated dynamic system. So I don't think that we can completely predict how things are going to go. I wonder if CPUs could be used instead of for running AIs. No. So, Namrus, the way that it works is that AIs, you're building like this network. Put this question in, and then there's all of these little nodes, hundreds of little nodes. And all of these little nodes, they like create connections between each other and do all of these things. And it's really complicated. It's basically like a brain. Each one of these nodes is like a brain cell. And the training, what you do on the training is you pass data into it and you say, this is what I want to get out. Reinforcement learning. This is what I want to get out. And so then the system will change all of these connections, both like which cells are connected to each other, but also there's like weightings. There's like numbers. So when we talk about a foundational model, what they're really talking about is the weightings of all of these numbers. And these numbers are numbers like, 2.1346, okay? They're floating point numbers, okay? Doing floating point arithmetic is very different from doing your regular style arithmetic. And when you are doing computer graphics, that is also floating point arithmetic. So that's why they use GPUs, is you have to have a pipeline of just millions of these pipelines to do those floating point calculations. And that's why they use GPUs. So, like, you can use a CPU, but it's just not anywhere close to as efficient. And you know, the sorts of things that would be good on a CPU are going to be like completely different methods. So that's why it's GPUs. There was a dip when it was, yeah, there was a dip on the end of the day, but it was just like, and you come back on the 5-minute chart, you can see it, right? Like when it happened, here is the announcement, but like the market closed that gap and it was like, yeah, it's no big deal. So I don't know what was the piece of information that the market saw that made them decide that like it's not a big deal, but somebody in the Discord said Seth's vids deserve more exposure, completely unprompted, and I feel so grateful. I really do feel like I have the greatest audience. Maybe part of the reason why I have such a great audience is because I have such great content, but I appreciate it, guys. I had this indicator to like shade things, and it is not using the time zone the way that it did yesterday. I wonder if I refresh the chart, if it shifts and does it correctly. I like that we're up on the highs now in treasuries. Yeah, it did. Oh, that's weird. I wonder what causes the difference there. Something about leaving it open overnight screwed it up. Well, I'll have to investigate that more. I can't release that particular indicator yet, I guess. There's this article going around about like only 1% of day traders are consistently profitable, and they have a bunch of like citations, and by and large day trading is not profitable, but you need that volume in the market. So if everybody realizes that day trading is not profitable and the next generation of people avoid day trading, that's kind of a problem for the market. That's kind of a problem for the market. And I'm kind of starting to see it take hold. I'm starting to see the people that they got suckered in by influencers that told them that they were going to become filthy rich from day trading and all of this sort of stuff, getting into it for the wrong reason, and and kind of being jaded and upset about what happened to them. At the same time, there's more retail participation in markets, especially the stock market, than ever before. I wonder if it's the same in the futures market. Maybe in the futures market, you're seeing less retail participation. Actually, you know what? I bet you probably are. I bet you that if you look at, compared to the day that I first put in my first live futures trade, compared to today, there is probably less retail volume in the market. But that is probably due to the funded trader programs, right? That instead of actually trying it in the actual market, they're doing it on the funded trader programs. And those programs are as popular as ever. Seeing a little bit of a rise in oil here. They're starting up. My son says everything has a 50% probability. How do I convince him otherwise when he says he's technically correct? So you have to use more specific statistical language. For instance, you have to look at like what is the likelihood that something happens rather than the probability that something happens. There's a new funded trader from, I don't know about every week. There was a new one recently, and their big shift, I think, first of all, it was Josh, the guy that kind of really created it. He had been looking, and we'd been talking to him for a while. Like he messaged me like a year and a half back about your internet. Welcome back, Izzy. Anyways, I remember talking to him like a year or two back. You know, him saying the way that the prop firms are running right now is not good, and he wanted to run a better, more something that would be better for the traders, right? So their big innovation is that you can set the rules of your combine. So based on the rules that you pick, it changes the amount that you have to pay to get in, but you can kind of say, I like these rules, this is so that you can get something that matches your performance a little bit better. And they also provide a lot more resources for the people that are in the program. Like there's more education and things like that if you buy into it. So it seems like all fine and well. I hope that they do well. I personally am not going to do it, nor am I going to promote them per se, because the issue that I have with funded trader programs is still that the funded trader programs have an incentive that hits them against the trader. The funded trader program makes more money if you fail. Like just straight up. That's just the way that it works. If they only made money when you pass the combine, trade in the market, and actually make money from your trading, then the business would be completely different. And that's the way that a prop firm used to be. So the prop firm had to find profitable traders, and a lot of people would fail, but they made enough from those profitable traders that were able to stick it out that they could good money. That it was allergies, but maybe it's not. kind of what happens is all of the mucus has been stuffed up in my head all night, comes down, and it takes a while for it to start coming down, and then when it's dripping down the back of my throat, it's like super thick and I'm like gagging on it. Okay, I have a theory. I have a theory that independent and or retail, I have to put independent because back in the 70s and 80s, it wasn't really quite as much retail as it was independent. Because to really day trade, you were probably like on the floor of the exchange, right? I think that these guys, there was more of them that were profitable, and the profitability of the ones that were profitable was higher compared to today. That's my theory. And my theory is also, part two of that theory is, if we're able to prove part one, part two of my theory is that the cause of this is the dominance of electronic trading. That's my theory. My theory is that it's such an advantage to be at the front of the queue. The robots and everything that they do are taking all of the arbitrage opportunities away, and the retail traders just can't compete. That's my theory. So if that is true, basically you get this thing where, again, we have three kind of parts of the market. We have the informed trader, the market maker, and the noise traders. And most of the market, it's actually more like, 50% of it is noise traders and a quarter of it is market maker and a quarter of it is informed traders. Okay. And you need those noise traders in order for the market to work, because otherwise there's not enough liquidity for the market maker to make his strategy work. And there's not enough liquidity for the informed trader to trade without the market maker finding out what's going on. So you need noise traders in the market. If this part right here, which is the market maker, becomes so good and effective that these guys are just completely screwed all the time, and these guys die out, then you have a problem, right? So, if that theory is correct, then part three would be that eventually, and this is maybe something that would happen later in my lifetime, like when I'm like 60 and I'm getting out. Maybe when it's time for me to retire, they start talking about there's not enough the average person is not active enough in the markets anymore, and it's a problem. And we get to that point. And then at that point, I think that you would have to do something like make a structural change to kind of even the field for them. So one structural change could be you just give the retail traders better tools. So like, for instance, there's this whole thing with the robots where like they auto stack and auto pull. There's not really a retail package out there that does that. But we could do that. We could do that and set some rules and have it look at a correlated instrument and say, put a lot out there at every tick. Well, I guess one thing is that we could probably write our own and do that today if we had enough money to do it. Like what should we say? Like 16, yeah. So $8,000. So if you had $8,000, you could put orders at like all of the inside bids and offers like 8 ticks away, and have a robot auto stack, auto pull, so that you're always at the front of the queue. Maybe, I don't know. But then if all the retail traders are doing that, then you still have a problem. Like, it doesn't help you at all. Right? No. So then it comes back to, if you need the retail traders to be, like they can't get a good enough spot in the queue to be competitive, then you have to change the queue to not be first in, first out. Right? You have to give people that are like smaller an advantage at getting filled first. I tell you what, it's been sitting there for a really long time, but it's been a massive iceberg at 05 half. I don't know if that was all one order. It was there for so long, but that's something we should watch, because if they're able to break 05 half, I'm still kind of browsing Reddit a little bit here. I'm seeing stuff from like the recruiting hell subreddit. Some things that are kind of, oh man, one of the things that happened to me yesterday was so there's been like 2 or 3 jobs that I'm like, oh, I would really like that. One was just really matched my passy. Like, it was in the healthcare. If it's a healthcare company, my ears perk up, because I'm like, well, I'm maybe more likely to get that, because they really like somebody that's come from the same industry. And another one was just really close to me. But I haven't heard back from, it's only been 1 day, so no big deal. But then I did hear back from one company that I applied to like last week, and I had completely forgotten about, and wasn't really a big deal. So that was kind of cool. But then when they were like asking for availability, like there wasn't really a good available spot for like a week out, like until the 10th. And I'm like, really? That's not very encouraging, because that means that they're probably interviewing like 50 people at that stage. Here's one from Recruiting Hell. There is no greater pain than being rejected from a job and then seeing it immediately reposted. Oh, that's, yeah. That is, oh, we just didn't like you and we're going to put it out to... So I'm seeing that a lot of companies are being really picky. Like, they don't actually want to fill the role unless it's like absolutely perfect. Maybe I can get the rest of this out now. It's not completely there. Because I can, my ears are popping and stuff. That means there's still stuff up in my ear canal. Hentalag, welcome back. They stepped away from that 05 half and haven't stepped back up to it. So if we tick back up to 05 half, there might be more iceberging still. This is one of those situations where watching it and paying attention to it kind of helps. Because if there was an iceberg there before and they didn't get through it, that probably means that it's still going to be there when they get back up to it. Screen looks so nice. You know, I do think that the changes that we made has made the look of the stream better. I don't think that it's really going to result in more audience. But actually, I think the only thing that will result in more audience is A, better titles, or B, better thumbnail. That's the thing. I think that most of the, like, there's you guys that are going to come every day. And I really think that I've found you and that we're like well positioned. The people that you know, they really do want to come in and watch every day. Like I think that they're finding it. So to get the stream more popular, you have to kind of bring in some of those more, not as, let's say not as dedicated watchers. So why would they come and watch this stream? Because if you're like interested in trading content, wouldn't you go and watch stocks, right? Well, I think a big factor is the thumbnail and everything, and there's something about the thumbnail and the title that interests people and they click on it. And I think it may just be that my particular thumbnail does not actually change the intro song. It's too negative when you say, "Oh, don't worry, tomorrow I'll lose it all." It should be fun. So yeah, if I have like title that is kind of like it's title and thumbnail that attracts a better, that's the thing that I think will change things. But I don't know, what do we change it to? Like, I look at, we've kind of gone through different titles over the years, and right now it's like super short and narrow, right? Like, I could say stock market, but then we're not really showing the stock market, so. I don't know. If I didn't have the thing going with our editor, we've made a couple of videos. He's learning. Really like the way that that's been going. I do think that it's been helping the channel, and it allows me to put more content out. Like we'll put that other video out tomorrow, our Monday, that we recorded during the stream yesterday. After this stream, I'll go and edit it and see if he wants to make a thumbnail for it. So we're putting out more content. That's all working really good. But, I am paying him every month. And if I wasn't doing that, maybe I would be doing the DX feed thing right now. Because that will make the stream more broad, right? Or you were looking at stocks, that would probably attract a different group of people. You put the instrument in the middle of the title. Well, yeah, but like what I'm saying is, okay, so we're futures trading and we're trading treasuries, right? So the number of people that are looking on YouTube specifically for people trading interest rates is super low. And I think that the people that are doing that they do find our stream. Generally speaking, futures trading, a little bit more narrow of a group. Most of those people are looking for people that are doing like funded trader programs and are doing ES, right? So those people aren't as interested. Stock market, that's a much bigger pie. So if we really want to get to, where we're getting like over 100 concurrent viewers regularly, I think that showing more stuff about stock market and a thumbnail and title that kind of draws those people in is probably the way to do it. Otherwise, for the stream that we have right now, like if we didn't change the audience, 24 is okay, but there were some points when we were getting more to 50. I think that when we were getting more to 50, that was because the YouTube algorithm was specifically pushing live streams and it doesn't anymore. So, but I do think that, you know, like the ceiling for us is like 48 viewers without shifting the content a little bit for the live stream. Now, the main videos, man, I don't know why. I don't know why the main videos aren't more popular. It really frustrates me when I'm on Reddit and people are like, who should I watch on YouTube and things like that. And I'm like, well, I have really good videos that teach you stuff that are really important about the market you're not going to hear about anywhere else. It's real serious content. I feel that the content is slept on. What do I do? What do I do to get that out to people? I don't know. Now, another side of it is, okay, so we can bring in more viewers. We do want to bring in more viewers, but at the moment, the issue is Seth needs income, and it would be really great if we could find a way to make the income from the stream so that I could plow full time into making content, because there's so much stuff that I could be making and doing right now, and I have to watch kids. So, and you know, when unemployment ends at the end of March, then we're really screwed. So, and I think that the answer there is that we have to get more people to use the affiliate link for Jigsaw, and we need to get more people to buy the indicator package for NinjaTrader. And everything that I've seen kind of suggests to me that I probably could live on the income from the NinjaTrader indicators, but I'm just not getting that traffic for some reason. So I need to make more videos about NinjaTrader, more videos about the indicator, and trying to funnel people into purchasing the indicator. Maybe I do have to, maybe one of the things that I've been thinking about is like, okay, like to really be making bank on this, like you need to be pulling in like 50 customers a month, which is about like I have like 50 customers overall ever that we bought, right? So I don't know if there's that many people going into this that we're going to pay that amount every month. That's really tough. So now I understand why so many of the things out there that are like, whether it's education or an indicator package or whatever it is, that it's like $1,000 to $5,000, because you can maybe get 1 or 2 purchases a month, and that's what you need to make the income. So the price ends up being that rather than like what is actually like, you know, $1,000 worth of value to the customer. You know what I mean? But I think it's still possible. It was rough, but I think it's still possible. And I really do think that like everybody that uses NinjaTrader should have my indicator package. Everybody that uses NinjaTrader should definitely have my free package. Make a trading signals group. Well, another one that is there is that we could have a like more of a newsletter. But the issue with the newsletter at the moment is that I don't really have the time to write a newsletter at the time where I think it would be like I would want to have something that is like sitting there waiting for you when you wake up and you start trading. And you're like, I don't know how that would work. Set of trading signals, you could do live analysis subscriptions. Well, I could do like I could run it more like a trading room that other people do, where it's like, okay, we're gonna buy here and yada yada yada. I should say, by the way, the $3 Discord, you know, like, okay, if everybody that was on the old Discord moved over to the $3 Discord, That would be a way to like replace my income. Probably not going to happen. But I'm really glad that we made the $3 Discord. We do have, it's a small group. Let's see here. How many people are on there right now? 16. No. 19. We've got 19 total people on the $3 Discord. So it's not a ton of money. But and the activity over there is sporadic, but when we do have activity over there, it's really good. And I can like post more like downloads and things like that. So I'm really liking it. What happened to Alligator? Oh, you know what? Well, I think he's still around. I haven't seen him say anything recently though. Yeah, so I don't know. I hadn't thought of that in a while. It might just, because this would be a time of year where we would see him a lot, right? Well, I don't know. We'll see. I'm sure he'll pop around soon. Just put on a prop firm account. Yeah, maybe. But like one of the things that's really frustrating me right now with that sort of a thing is that I'm doing quite well with the treasuries, and if I sized up large enough, I could absolutely just destroy the prop firm things. Like let's come back and show some of the performance that we've had recently. The thing is that I'm not trading a lot. Like I haven't, since losing my day job, even though I take sim trades and everything, I just haven't been taking as many trades overall. But let me finish the thought and then I'll show you the performance. Anyways, so I'm doing really well in the treasuries, but most of the combines don't allow you to trade treasuries anymore, and they don't really adjust the number of contracts that you can trade based on the volatility of the instrument. They just say like you can have like 4 contracts, and that's like, okay, like that works for ES, but for me to get that degree of leverage on the treasuries, you have to you probably want to trade like 20 contracts or something like that. Yeah, if I was trading 20 contracts, I would pass those easy. At least with the performance that I've had over the past like year. So let me show you that. How far back do we want to go? That was kind of the question. Well, let's actually, I think I want to go back to like March. Let's start with March. Yeah, I've taken some in a bunch of different things, but we just want Zen. So like, you go over the course of the year. Yeah, okay, it's 3,000, but that's like only trading a maximum of 5 contracts, and the majority of those contracts being taken off, and only letting it run like 1 or 2 contracts run. So if I was able to let 5 to 10 contracts run, yeah, I would be killing it. I think that I would very easily be passing those combines. Like, because some of these stats are like really startling. Okay, my win rate, 55%. That's really good. MFE is larger than MAE. Now there are still problems. I think that my average win loser is probably still larger. Oh no. In this case, well, not when you consider commissions, but when you don't consider commissions, my average winner and my average losers are pretty close. They're pretty close. And my largest, wow, all of those stats are just exactly what we want. All of those stats are like amazing performance, you know? But this comes back to this thing that's like, you know, like, I think I've gotten good at this. But like, really good at this is actually still kind of like meh. In terms of like what it pays for you. You know what I mean? The futures desk does allow it? Oh, okay. Oh, we could try it. I don't think that I'm going to be doing any kind of a funded trader account while I'm unemployed. But I kind of feel like that even if I went over and I started doing the futures desk, that I'm still kind of hypocritical though. So I still just have an issue with the structure of it. Nah, what I really need to do is I just need to save up more and fund a larger account. Like I need to graduate to like a $20,000 account where I can trade multiple contracts on CN. Because I think part of the difference between like this year's performance and like the performance last year, 2 years ago. Because one of the things is you got to remember that at the beginning of 2020, there was a big shift in my content. Okay. Because two things happened. First was that, well, I kind of got screwed just before the whole COVID thing happened. So I wasn't able to trade during any of COVID. And then I had like really strong success through the first part, like up until May, I think I would say, it seemed like I was doing really, really well. I was trading equity indexes. And then after that, it just like started going really poorly all of a sudden. So I think that the performance there was just a function of that market. That, you know, everything was going up, so I was doing well. Then so I like had to rebuild. And then I also was able to learn a lot more about some of the empirical research and kind of found the pieces of research that I needed to be able to find everything else and really understand the market in the way that I needed to. So like there was a big shift in the content around that time, right? And I also started focusing more on just like after that May, I said, all I'm going to do is I'm just going to read as much as Zero Hedge and all of these things as I can and just focus on knowing the market as well as I possibly can, right? And so the combination of those things is what kind of got me to where I am. And, you know, last year, the year before that, it was kind of like, I think I was still kind of learning some things and sorting that style of trading out. Now we've been doing it for 4 or 5 years, and I think that I've really kind of nailed it down. And I spent the last year trying to sort out how to manage multiple contracts. I don't think that I have completely figured that part out. I think that I should be making more from it than I do, and I can have like a loser that's super, super big, right? But it's getting there, and it's probably good enough to pass those funded trader programs. But I'm still kind of like, I would rather just save up a ton and trade my own account. So but the whole point, the comment that got all that going is trade a prop firm account and a lot of people will come. Because yes, there's a lot of people that they're specifically searching for funded trader programs and people that are going to help them pass the funded trader programs. And so it doesn't necessarily matter to them if I'm trading a live account and doing super, super well with it. They're maybe still not as interested just because I'm not teaching them about prop firms. I tell them don't do prop firms, right? So you're probably right, F2. I don't know if I would go that direction, but that's where I say like the thing that I really want to do next, I think like the longer term plan is I do want to start watching the order flow on stocks. and start playing the game, starting to develop skills in terms of like finding which stocks to watch that day, right? Yeah. Oh, they got past the 05 half now, so they gonna punch the highs now. There's gonna be a little bit of you know, like 06 half is they've stopped there several times. So I hate to use the word resistance because I know people have all of these ideas about it, but that is kind of the line in the sand. Trading stocks as pairs and yeah, well, and another thing is that we will do the pair trading and like yield curve plays in the treasuries more. You know, I'm always looking for ways to do that. There's a little bit of research. Probably we could have done some of that research today if I wasn't yapping, but and watching the market. I like this might be a good opportunity here, honestly. I'm liking the way that that's ramping. Probably not going to get filled there at 06 half. Kind of looks like that there's an iceberg at 06 half though, and that they're going to throttle them. It sounds like that Trudeau is saying we're ready with a response. What is really lucrative is shorting penny stocks. You subscribe to Pump and Dump newsletter and promoters literally tell you when to... Yeah. You know, there's like a larger issue, which is like, if the channel got popular enough, because I don't ever want to be the guy that is like front running the audience, you know what I mean? Like I really think that warrior trading, that a good, well, I think that the majority of the profits from his trading itself does come from front running his audience. And I don't like that. Okay, so there was a little bit back and forth there. I also have to take a contract off and monitor it here a little bit because it wasn't necessarily looking for this to be like a trade that like really runs or anything like that. And I also am kind of, with the whole tariff thing going on, I do wonder like if there's a cap on the upside here. Yesterday's high was all the way up at 13 though, so. But, you know, I was looking at this to be a more of a short-term play, so I might just... In fact, you know what? I can take... Okay, it ticked up, so I can wait a little bit. My cost basis is 06 half, and my theoretical break-even is 06 at the moment. Warrior Trading was making money with news trading before he started selling courses, maybe. I don't know that much about his history. I just know that like what he's doing is basically like a pump and dump now. And I don't ever want to be that person. So, you know, if I get to a point where my stream is popular enough, I really don't think that we'll ever get there because, well, I don't know, with stocks maybe it's a different thing. Oh, yeah, actually, that's so interesting because, like, I already kind of have that baked in there. Like if I get to a point where the stream is having an effect on things, then I would have to shift the content of the stream to be more informational and less watching Seth trading, essentially, right? Okay, then I need to take one off there if I can still get it. But you know, like if I'm doing it with stocks and the channel becomes more popular, it wouldn't necessarily be Seth is taking a trade and showing you the entries and exits. It would kind of be more we're just watching the order flow, and then at the end of the session, you know, analyzing the flow that we saw and helping get more people into analyzing order flow on stocks, essentially. There's another scenario where, like, if we really became, you know, like there's some of these guys like who's a really big I can't remember any names. I'm not in name remembering mode. So let's use Humbled Trader as an example. I think that she's maybe one of the biggest influencers in the trading space now at this point. If I was as big as the Humbled Trader, I would be like approaching things way differently. I would be like trying to turn my channel into a CNBC competitor, you know? If not starting a new channel with like a group of people. Okay, well, I was a little bit late on the poll on the take profit at 08. But this may be a little bit of a like a okay, let's pause a little bit. Like the trend is probably still up, but it was just that little jump was probably too much. But Prime Minister Trudeau is speaking, so that could be having an effect. I'm still kind of at like, when do we get rid of that guy? He really has been hanging on. Hold on a second. Did you see that? Did we get news? Do we have a news piece today that I forgot about? Oh, that was PMI. Okay. Okay, so we just had PMI, but the treasuries did not actually move on it. It was just the liquidity pulled. So I'm not exactly sure what the result of the PMI was. It must be probably close to the expectation of 40. Man, I've been so good lately about remembering that, and I missed it today. Yeah, I'm sorry, guys. Well, I guess another thing I should say, like, we haven't come back to the 05 area yet, but as like a breach of the highs, I don't know, like when it happened, I thought it was a pretty spectacular break, but it kind of feels like really disappointing to me at the moment. They're iceberging at 07. I don't like that. That maybe means that the iceberg that I was following at 08 has maybe come down. I think I held on to it a little bit too long. I should have put that woulda, coulda, shoulda. I should have put that second take profit order immediately when I saw it iceberging instead of waiting until it was 4,000 contracts. Okay. Oh, it's 39.5, so it's slightly lower than expected. You know, that actually kind of makes me wonder if the move that we saw 15 minutes ago was front running the PMI. But I don't know if you front run the PMI just for a 0.5 miss. Still, it's interesting. We did uptick there through the iceberg at 07. There's 4,000 contracts in the way that they were able to get through. I think I'm going to cancel my order at 08 because I think if we do have enough volume to get back up there, the situation's probably going to be completely different. So why are we talking about there are prop firms that like Axia this? Because are we talking about like we need funding? I mean, the thing is that like the funded route is really doesn't make sense for me. Like, one, you don't like when you're unemployed. I really don't think that trading is the way to like get out of it. That's like a really dumb idea. Okay. There's just too much risk involved in that. You're gonna make like your trading results a major portion of your income. There's just too much risk in that. I don't want to do that. Okay. And then so I will have a new day job. Then it doesn't really make sense to do those because then at that point I'd be able to just fund an account or my own account at that point. So that doesn't really make sense. Yields in oil. Why do you say oil? Oil is falling pretty hard here at the moment. Is there something in what Trudeau said there and everything that makes people less concerned about the tariff thing? I'm kind of wondering. Okay, so I'm glad I canceled my order at 08 because I was correct. The large iceberg that prevented us from going higher there did move down to 07 because then when we traded through 08 it was only 2,000 contracts. Now I am getting a little bit of fight here, like somebody kind of hit them at 07 half and the bid pulled there and there was some clicking at that time, but they seem to be taking it in stride. They did make one tick higher. I may just end up taking one contract off at 08 in the end anyways, but the situation is definitely different now, so. 3,000. Okay, I will. Yeah, okay. Yeah, let's see. If they had like ticked through that and we were like immediately eating at 08 half, then it'd be like, oh man, that was the wrong call. But what I'm seeing at the moment is actually a little bit of the low resting liquidity at 08. So that tends to be a good spot to take some profits, right? How will you trade when the market is open when you work? Well, you know, I had a job before. So if I get a new job where I have to, where the job starts at 8 o'clock my time, which would be in 10 minutes, then maybe we would have a problem because I would have had to have left like 30 minutes to get there or something like that, right? But most of the jobs out there, especially if it's a remote, they don't really start the day until like 9:30 my time. So I just do it all before the day job. I know. It's kind of funny that the conversation you guys have me talking on that side of it, because the thing that I've been on saying a lot lately is like, if you guys want good content, then you have to reward the people that are making the content. And one of the things that I see well, on the internet in general, like honestly, you know what, let me just step away from day trading for a second. This is a systemic problem across the whole internet. Like if I have a YouTube channel and then I come onto a subreddit and I make a post about the subreddit, they'll say, oh, that's your YouTube channel, you're spamming, we're not going to allow that. Okay. Meanwhile, all of these big corporations will literally pay people. I've been asked from more than one company to literally go and post things on Reddit about certain products. No joke. So these companies are paying people for the, it's not actually organic. And so the people that are like actually making content and being genuine about it and everything are at a disadvantage to the corporations and people that kind of underhandedly break the rules. All because we have this strange this strange idea that like people shouldn't be able to post their own content and promote it. What's with that? How about we just let everybody post whatever they want, whether they made it or not, and let good content float to the top, regardless of who posted it. And so we've created this internet where like the only people that are really allowed to make money from making content are like the biggest ones. If you're Mr. Beast, it's okay. If Mr. Beast went and posted on the subreddit, we wouldn't do anything about it. It would be like, oh wow, that's so cool that Mr. Beast is posting. They wouldn't ban him, right? If you want people to make good content, you have to reward them for making the content. So now you come to the retail trading space, okay? If I have a video and it has empirical information and it's good information and you like that video, everybody's like, great. And you can incorporate that into your trading or whatever. But you also need to like reward the creator for doing that. That means like liking the video, commenting on the video, sharing the video with other people. Because if you don't do those things, then there's no incentive for people to make content like that. And what we do in the day trading space is that some of the creators that are really trying to be genuine about this, and I'm not the only one, mind you, okay, but are really actually giving you good information. Everybody's like, oh, cool, that's great. And then they don't, and then they move on. And meanwhile, the content creators that are really like pulling the wool over your eyes and are just trying to suck as much cash out of you as they possibly can, right? Well, they're getting rewarded for that kind of behavior instead. And so these smaller guys that are actually genuine about it or are actually providing good content to you can't compete with that. They can't compete. And so then it's like, why is all of the trading content on YouTube trash? Because user behavior. The trash content is what gets rewarded. It would be great if I actually think I have a video like that, hit and miss. I think I can think of 2 videos that go into that sort of an issue. I've actually, well, no. So the one video that I'm thinking about is the different types of markets and the types of order flow that you tend to see in those markets. But then there's also the video on trading the news. If you haven't watched the video on trading the news, I would watch that one. But so maybe I don't have one that's exactly like that. So, but we could possibly, do that. Let's see here. We'll put it in here. Oh no, we went play hand videos. That's what we want. Need to finish this one. That'll be next week's video. Not Monday, but Monday after that. That video, I'm almost done writing that one. Okay. I'm in a room right now, but he only offers a suite of indicators and he trades full time, but he does not push his Discord. He showed his Stripe, which made 100K in 2.5 years. That's not that well. And he came back and he says trading pays him better and he refuses to grow his Discord. So that's kind of weird, because this is exactly what I'm talking about. It's like you can be an amazing trader, like 100K in 2.5 years. That's really damn good. That's only 50K every year, right? Like he should have other things to supplement his income. And like, yeah, the Discord would be a great way to do that. And then if you have the Discord and everything else, that provides an incentive to make better content. So anytime that a person in the trading space is making content, the immediate thing is, oh, they're going to be trying to sell something, and why would they be giving us the content if they were actually a good trader? They would actually just be trading. And it's like, well, okay, there is something to be said that like, it's easier to make money from providing content and education than it is from actually trading. But that's because it's like almost impossible to really make consistent income from trading. Okay. But do you want content or not? Don't, you know, if somebody's making good content, don't come in and be like, well, it must not, you know, they must be lying about something. You know, okay. Well, then somebody that's actually good is not going to make the content. You should make a cheat sheet for each number. Well, but I don't think that you can do it with a cheat sheet though. We still have an hour left, by the way. But the 2-year, well, the 10-year, we still got some room to run. And are we above yesterday's high now? No, yesterday's high is 13. Okay, well, let's see. I mean, I do kind of lay out a framework for how to do it in my video about trading the news, though. You know, like, one of the challenges that I think I have right now is, like, I have a lot of older content that I think is really, really good and doesn't get watched as much as it should. But there's also a lot of really informationally dense content and things like that. So there's all of these things, like the video about trading the news. I could probably split that out and make a bunch of new videos about that particular subject again, and just like duplicate videos, right? Most of my videos are kind of hitting on like the same general set of things that we're trying to teach people that I think are really important for people to really stand a chance at day trading, right? But then there's this issue of there's too many things. Remember we did that the other day when we pulled out a sheet and we're like, okay, so what are like the key takeaways from Seth's channel? And there's actually like a dozen of them, you know? So really there needs to be a little bit more of a focus on my part that is like, okay, like, so we need to have a video every other week or whatever. Like, I'm trying to get 4 videos out a month. We'll see if I can get there. So that means that there's a wide range of topics that I can cover, right? But I also still have to have a focus, and if I'm gonna like be able to make that like my income, then I really need to be focused. So the focus right now is the indicator hacks, you know? Has no website, just word of mouth. That's interesting. I have a lot of questions about that. I guess we'll find out in the future, because it seems to me like that there are companies that are making money from selling NinjaTrader indicators. So I'm really wondering if it really is just as simple as you have to be advertising on AdWords. He hates making videos, and if he does, he won't edit it. I feel like I gotten pretty okay at editing a video. One of the problems that I have is that I don't have the time or the resources to make a ton of B-roll footage for it, right? So you just only get me. But I've had some videos where I really put as much effort as I could into just editing me as well as we could. And I've done okay. And I think that did help channel a little bit. What if you re-upload which? Honestly, I'd rather just make a new video. Right now, I can make a new video. So, like, the challenges that I have right now is that because I'm not working, my wife is working and trying to make as much money as she can. That puts us in an okay spot up until unemployment runs out. When unemployment runs out, it gets scary. So when she's at work, I have to watch the kids, right? I have a child that is autistic. They are just absolutely bonkers. So, like, I can sit and play a game that doesn't really require a ton of dedicated focus and be okay. I can sit and watch a video that doesn't really require a lot of focus and be okay. I can't read a book where I'm really going into the algebra of things and really deep research. I can't go and program things. Like, I can take the laptop out there and do stuff, but it's just really hard to, like, program, for instance, right? But writing videos, it's kind of it works okay. And then when I do get the dedicated time, I'm able to spruce them up and everything and record them and fine, right? So I think that I have the ability to make up to 4 videos a month with my current capacity. If we got the channel to the spot where my wife didn't have to work during the week anymore, because, you know, there wasn't that concern, then I could probably put out a video almost every day. And I could be putting videos about, like, current happenings and stuff like that, right? Does this person that you're talking about, F2, is he making NinjaTrader indicators, or what type of indicators is he making? Not liking the back and forth at 08. I think I can keep this last one on until the end of the session, but he hates sim traders. And some people have this idea. So one of the things that I see is people will say, "Oh, sim trading is pointless because trading is all about emotions, and when you don't have anything on the line, then you're not able to learn how to deal with your emotions. Well, that's true if there's no actual edge to your strategy, right? Like if what you're actually doing is risk premia and making money from taking on risk, which is what a lot of the retail day traders and futures are actually doing and unknowingly, then yes, the emotional aspect of it is basically everything. So that's why they say that. But if you actually have a good strategy and you're actually like developing an understanding of things, then trading sim is great. That's why when I get to people that are like really adamantly against you shouldn't sim trade, I'm like, so you're probably trading the S&P 500 with price action and really taking on risk and doing degenerate stuff and yada yada. You know, that's another issue, is that in the space, people do not assess a piece of content by the quality of the content. If everybody sat down and said, okay, what did I actually learn from this video and what kind of evidence do they have to back up what they're saying? Is there empirical evidence? Okay. If that was like the qualifications, nobody would be able to compete with me because nobody else on YouTube talks about like empirical evidence and things like that. Okay. But it seems to me that most humans assess the content based on what they think the social proof that they see is. So like if there's a Lambo in the video, then they must have made money from it. So that must mean that it's good content, that they know what they're talking about. And we rely too much on these social proof context cues to determine what we watch and what we don't watch. And so to some people, trading sim is kind of one of those things. It's like, well, but you don't have the social proof then because you should be like filthy rich from it. Right? And that's another issue, is that everybody has it in their heads that if you are successful with day trading, that you should be making millions of dollars from it. And that's just not true. You need a lot of money to begin with to be making a ton of money from it. Oh, he makes them for Sierra charts? Oh, no, I guess that's still interesting. Oh, I need to make sure I remember. Let's see here. Where's my notes? We got European Central Bank speaker now. Okay, I do have it at the top. When I get time next week, I think that I probably will try and make my indicator suite for Sierra charts. I'll judge your strat space purely on how many Lambos you have. It's just like, I really think that if you rely on the social proof cues for who you're going to listen to, basically what ends up happening is it always drives you to the people that are either A, lying, or B, just degenerate risk takers. Like seriously, no shade to Matt, Trades by Matt. He seems like a good guy. He really does seem like a good guy to me, and that he's trying to be genuine and everything. But it also seems to me that his success basically stems from him being a degenerate risk taker. And trying to take reversals and all sorts of crazy risk trades like that. And you take on enough risk, like you can get away with it for a certain amount of time, but then he'll go through that cycle of you take a lot of risk and then you blow up, right? And you back down. And it's gotten to the point where the audience has kind of figured out that that's what's going on. But that's how he became successful to begin with. So my complaint here is that, again, you want good content, you have to reward good content. And if all you care about is that the content creator has made a ton of money from it, it's not necessarily going to lead you to the best content, because the people that have made the most money from trading are either degenerate risk takers or lying to you. And the people that are like really actually doing this kind of smart, they're not going to make as much. And those are the people that are actually going to provide the most useful information to you. Because if all you want to do is just make the most amount of money from futures trading as possible, just take stupid risks. That's really all there is to that game. How are you, Naveed? Welcome to the stream. Well, I think I'm still going to hold this trade till the end of the stream, but I am kind of not liking what I'm seeing here. Goolsby is saying that tariffs might be a transitory problem and that a response in monetary policy might not even be needed. I'm wondering if there are some things going on. Well, I'm not really seeing a shift in the currencies per se. The Japanese yen is kind of waning after, following that good uptrend. I'm not seeing the volume shift, so I can still hold it, but I don't like the way this is going now. I don't like being back to my cost basis. I suppose I could add contracts there, but I'm not really seeing anything that really makes me feel like that I want to add contracts. And in fact, one of the things that I'm seeing right now that concerns me is that I'm not really seeing the market makers trying to add buy inventory right now. So if it really was like a strong uptrend, I would think that they would be using this move back down to be adding inventory, and they're not. Gold is taking off again. Good grief, man, gold has just been crazy. Well, it's only 0.35% today still. He says he has no problem slowing the rate of cutting. Octavius is looking for long at VWAP. I'm a little bit... Well, now you got me concerned that, like, the VWAP is just below me. Now I'm kind of... Well, I guess my cost basis is below it, so... Or not cost basis, my theoretical break-even point is well below it, so I think I'm okay. A little bit of iceberg selling at 07. He did make it tick up, but now now there's more. Seeing a lot of level 2 activity here too. How does that compare to the rest of the session? Yeah. So do you see this in my upper left chart? It's kind of subtle, but it does kind of look like that the level 2 activity is increasing up again. Oh, sorry, this is not ECB, this is Goolsby. I didn't have Goolsby on the docket. Okay, well that maybe makes a little bit more sense as to why maybe there's activity but not like a clear direction to it, because Goolsby is kind of super dovish. So you kind of have to discount a little bit of what he says. He's some Octavius ain't holding any punches. He doesn't like Goolsby. What do you guys think? Maybe I shouldn't step into this particular subject, but what do you guys think of Donald Trump blaming the helicopter crash the other night on diversity, equity, inclusion? I thought it was incredibly odd that he like immediately lasered in on it was because of that. I mean, because it doesn't seem to me like the problem was with anybody in air control. So like, was the helicopter pilot a DEI hire? That doesn't make sense to me. Is it just low-hanging fruit? Uzi says that, yeah, it's like an easy political points to get. Maybe you're right. Maybe it is just it's on message. And then on Reddit, I started seeing all of these things that are like, Donald Trump claims without evidence. And I'm like, oh, not this shit again. Like, as soon as you see in a headline without, just ignore that headline. It's They have gone back into, we're going to hyperventilate about every news story that comes along. I just can't stand it, guys. It's Pete's fault the controller was doing 2 jobs? I don't know, man. You know, so Pete was saying that, oh, like, we didn't have any problems while I was transportation secretary, and then you came in and you fired a bunch of people, and the next day there was a problem. That's what Pete Buttigieg is saying. A running theory seems to be that the helicopter pilot flying VFR. Oh wait, what is that? Visual flight rules. Oh, yes. You're right. The helicopter pilot was flying visual flight rules, yes. I don't know if that makes sense, though, man. I don't know if that completely explains it. 2 planes aborted their landings at DCI due to helicopters in their flight path in the week before the crash. Another plane heading to Ronald Reagan Washington National Airport almost collided with a helicopter the night before. So there was a real problem that they were kind of ignoring and glossing over. Because the thing that I don't understand is that it really looks to me like the helicopter like ran right into it. Like, how did they not see it coming? And another thing was I saw a video of like radar, and the radar, it really made it look like that the helicopter, like it's this going this way and the helicopter's going this way, and that the helicopter went like this, like turned. I don't know, man. It's super. I'm sure there's going to be a big long investigation, and like we'll have a Netflix documentary to explain what happened. But I'm still having a really hard time understanding how that can happen, man. Crazy, just crazy. I haven't had, when the birth dad came over, he's a pilot. So I'd be interested to see what he has to say about that. But they didn't stop and visit today. Sometimes they have to like wait here at the house for one of the kids to get back or anything. But that didn't happen this week, so haven't seen him. It's like, I kind of prefer it that way. I just don't want to see him, that's all. Probably saying too much. I should change the subject. So effectively, routinely clogging a toilet, and it just happened to finally overflow that night. Okay. So then the question is, why were they doing that, and who is responsible for those policies and mistakes? Yeah. Or rather, I guess you're saying that, like, hey, maybe the helicopter pilot made a mistake, but it was a mistake that was bound to happen. So we should be blaming the system and the rules in place rather than necessarily the individual pilot, right? Right. Because if it came out that the pilot was a terrorist and left a death note afterwards, and or to be found afterwards, and all of these sorts of things, and then that would be an explanation, and we'd be like, oh, okay, everything's wrong, everything's okay with our air traffic controllers and all that whole, right? But you're saying there's a problem perhaps with air traffic control or policies at the airport and the military. So who made the mistake, right? Who made the mistake? Idiots, of course. Who else but he? I don't know, man. Like, really smart people make mistakes. This is the thing. Air disaster update. An air traffic controller supervisor at DCA let a controller leave their shift early before the deadly mid-air crash. Oh, boy. Was it because they were understaffed? I don't know about that one, though, because it does sound like the helicopter was warned and everything. I don't know. This is a terrible. Oh, there's a whole subreddit for inner circle traders. 28,000 members. Oh, wow. This guy is saying, oh, I'm making money from it. Let's look at what he's doing. Okay, yeah. So the day that you lost money, you lost $6,000 when on average you're making $1,000, $2,000 a day. Yeah, dude. And 76 trades on that too, man. This is not a working strategy. This is you're being fooled by randomness, brother. My. Oh, he's doing one of those copy trade things. Oh, man. 76 trades, and I know, right? Isn't that crazy? Wait, did it show us? No, it didn't show us the individual trades, like what he's trading to get that either. Just the P&L. Well, he says that he's making $21,000 in a month, I'm sure. Yeah. This is exactly the thing, right? Is that I'm looking at that and I'm saying there's a fat tell. If we look at the distribution of his returns, it's like this. There's a teeny tiny right tail. Most of them are like this. And then there's this huge left tail. This is going to blow your account. But all these guys are going to see is Oh my gosh, he made $21,000 this month. This must be a really effective way of trading. You see how it fools people, right? So that, because people, they look at the number, they look at the social things. I was watching this thing the other day. I kind of hesitate to bring this particular thing up because I think this creator was spouting a bunch of bullshit. This creator had this theory that Denisovians were actually the Anunnaki and all of this sort of stuff. This is nonsense. I'm pretty sure that like the Denisovians were like so way further back. Anyways, but it was interesting to think about that maybe Denisovians did have civilizations that, just aren't around anymore because of the end of the Ice Age and all of these sorts of things, right? And he brought up some things that I had not seen before about the Denisovians. That, for instance, that the Denisovians were probably more kind of autistic. That some of the traits that cause autism, I guess they have some genetic evidence to suggest that they kind of came from Denisovians. So if you think about it as like, okay, well, I mean, autism is like a bigger disorder and everything like that. So part of that is kind of like maybe a misunderstanding of autism. But if you think about what were they like, what were they actually like? Maybe they were a group that were not as tribal, not as social as humans, right? And maybe a little bit more logical, deep thinking than we are. Well, if that's the case, then it makes complete sense to me why they died out and humans were the ones that became dominant. And that probably dominance, like, or humans out competed them. If not, there was like outright conflict. Why? Because humans are very, very tribal, and almost, well, not everything, but a huge part of the way that we think is about dealing with complex social situations. We really rely on like those kind of fast intuition type thinking to be able to deal with conversations and social situations that happen very quickly, where you have to think very quickly, right? And so that leads people to certain biases. That's why people care more about whether you have a Lambo in your video than they do about, is the information that you're providing really backed up with real data? Can you actually really use the stuff that's in the video? Like, this is one of the things that also drives me crazy is you get these people, they'll talk about, they're like trading creators and they'll talk about trading. And I'm like, anybody that's traded for a month should know this shit. Like, some of the psychological aspects and things. It just seems like such like surface level trash content. How is that going to improve your trading versus real information about how the market works that kind of suggests certain strategies might have more opportunity for you than others? Nobody cares. Why? Because the brain is literally wired to kind of look at everything from a social context. So another thing, there's this whole thing that like, are you an alpha or a beta man, or are you the omega? All these nonsense phrases, right? And supposedly this whole idea of like somebody in the group being the alpha came from wolves, that there's an alpha wolf and the alpha wolf is in charge of the pack. And then later on, some people, did some research into it and they found that, the guy that did that didn't know what he was talking about. What was actually happening was the wolf pack was a family unit, that there was the mom and dad, and the alpha wolf was just the dad. It was just the oldest male, and that was it. And that they really didn't have that kind of hierarchical structure, right? It seems to me that humans would be likely to make that mistake because that is the way that humans work. Humans care about social hierarchy so much. They care about social hierarchy so much. And so in trading, these people, they use that to fool you. You come and you watch this and you just go, oh, wow, he's making $21,000 a month. Not seeing the distribution is like this, and that it is not a profitable strategy. Man. Yeah, as someone with an old male dog and 2 of his own puppies, it's a family thing, not an alpha thing. Yeah, exactly. Old boy certainly isn't the quote-unquote alpha. But they probably still defer to him, huh? Cult formation is probably more profitable than teaching. Well, it sure is. ICT made millions of dollars from his YouTube. Even though it seems to me that he's a shit trader. Yeah. Like that's one of those cases like maybe he's just that delusional. And I mean, ICT really seems to be self-absorbed and narcissistic to me. That's another thing that just really weirds me out. And I'm not sure if it's just like, hey, does Seth see the world that differently from other people? Or is it really more that like everybody kind of hates that, but they just weren't looking into it closely enough to see that that's what was going on? You know? But it kind of seems to me that being narcissistic reads to most people as confidence and competence. So is it the case that he's just that delusionally confident all the time, that he really does think that he could, he could win the Robbins Cup or whatever the deal is? Or does he really know that he's completely full of shit and he's just saying whatever he can to keep the money flowing for him? And I really think it's the latter. I think that he knows that he's full of shit and that these tactics all work worked towards getting him as popular as he has. In terms of following, it's hard to tell because they do all kind of move back like simultaneously. I like to think sometimes about moving up into the mountains. I don't know if the family really wants to move up into the mountain. I would like to live in like Park City or like next to the ski resort or something like that. Okay. And I would like to have a decent space of like in my ideal house. I think that each room would have its own bathroom, and each room would have enough space in that room that when they are older and they have their own kids, that their kids could sleep in sleeping bags on the floor or something like that, right? So I would buy it like with this long-term thinking that like everybody will have their own room and the extended family will come back, right? And we'll do stuff up at the cabin. And I would want to have a dog. And so then I think about what kind of a dog would I get? My wife has always talked about having a Doberman. But one time when we were at Shills, we came across a Bernese Mountain Dog, and it was like when that dog came along, she wasn't listening to anything that I was saying. It was I'd never seen her like that before, man. I'd never seen that dog transfixed her. She was just and she's never been like that with another type of, like, I've been like, oh look, there's a Doberman, she didn't care, right? So maybe it should be a Bernese Mountain Dog. mountain house anyways, so that should all fit and work, right? Yeah. But then I think about, oh, well, huskies would be fun, but I don't think I could actually handle huskies. But whenever I'm thinking about that, I think about Uzi and I'm like, oh, the huskies, that would be kind of fun. And we could have like I could have a sled and the huskies could pull the sled around. Could have like a sled with wheels on it. That'd be great. I've seen some people on YouTube or on TikTok that they have like a wheel sled and they just get pulled around on, the trails around there. And it looks like so much fun, man. A husky is what you make it. They're not inherently ridiculous and too much to handle like the internet says. Oh, really? Oh, really? So wait, do your huskies howl on a regular basis? Does your husky howl on a regular basis? If you work from home every day with your husky and work him on a routine, they're easy. Leave him alone all day and he'll probably go crazy. Yeah, that's probably true. That's probably true. But come on, they've got a personality that I don't think everybody can handle. I can make them howl, but they don't do it on their own on a regular basis. Oh, okay. I can get them going with a squeaky toy or a hormone. Oh, that's funny. Yeah, but what though? And I don't think that that's necessarily too different from other dogs. Like one of the things that I've learned with dogs is that every dog breed has behavior that is undesirable. And the whole issue is knowing what that dog breed's tendency is and preventing those behaviors from taking hold to begin with. Like if you get a Papillon, they yap, and you like, I know everybody hates the whole thing, but just go and get the bark collar so that the first time that he ever tries going barking, he gets shocked and he learns to not do it. Because once they learn it when they're little, then they will yap forevermore. That's the problem with the Papillon, right? And the thing is that some negative behaviors are harder to deal with than others for people. That's really what the issue is, right? The issue with the husky is that the negative behaviors that you get is that they need a lot of stimulation and they need a lot of exercise. They need like space to run around with. And if you aren't able to effectively deal with that issue, they will destroy everything. That's the problem with a husky. So if you're a good dog owner, it's not that big of a problem. Unless the personality of the dog itself is something that you don't like. Because they're kind of weird. They're kind of goofy. They don't need that. It's just helpful. I don't have a huge backyard. Oh, okay. Oh, you know what, though? I'm not thinking this through, because if I lived up in the mountains and I had huskies and they pulled me around on a sled and everything, I wouldn't be able to have just one, would I? And I don't like that idea. I think I can handle 2 big dogs, but not more than that. No. Honestly, right now, oh my gosh. So like when we got Goku, it was okay. I really sucked that he didn't have the older dog to teach him things like to go out to pee and everything. He knows to pee outside. I mean, for some reason, I think it's maybe because the female dog is in heat right now, but he's been like marking. He's been marking. It pisses me off. Okay. But the other dog, here's what happened with the other dog, is the other dog right away decided my favorite thing is to just be outside. My favorite thing is to just be outside. She doesn't really, she got that dog because Goku didn't really want to sit on her lap at the time. Now that Goku is all grown up, all he wants to do is sit on your lap. Really shouldn't have gotten the other dog because she doesn't fill any of the roles that we got the other dog for, except for that my wife likes the way she looks. She thinks she's cute. That's really all there is to it. And so she wants to be outside all the time. And this dog is just not smart. Or is there a thing where like female dogs are just more dumb than male dogs? I'm kind of wondering because I had these issues with the Yorkies that we had before. There's and the female Yorkie just really grated on me for some reason. Just how stupid she was all the time. Like, she was very obedient in everything, but she was just dumb as a doornail. Like Goku, I can tell him whatever it is that we're doing, and he gets it. And he can just tell from the body language and everything, like what needs to happen. It's so cool. He's so smart. But Maple, it's like even just getting her to sit is like, I don't, why is everybody, what's wrong? Why? She just doesn't get it. She's so stupid. And I'm like, is it because she's a female dog? I don't know. Maybe it's because she's a female dog. So one of the stupid things that she does that just absolutely drives me crazy is she wants to go outside, but it's like 0 degrees out there right now. So then almost immediately after going outside, she wants to come back in. And I'm like, no. I'm letting you out. You're staying out there for at least 30 minutes. And so then they just sit there and scratch the door all day. Oh, I hate it. I hate it so much. See, like, okay. So like there's this whole thing like, okay, do men and women excel at different roles? And like men should be the breadwinner and women should just be at home watching the kids. And there's that whole argument. And yeah, I mean, I do kind of have my own opinions on that because I'm pretty conservative and we're Mormon and all of that. So, you know, the LDS church isn't like, oh, women should never work or anything. I think they kind of understand that in this day and age, like both parents have to work to some extent, right? But it's preferable that the woman stays home and watches the kids. It does seem to me that women have a nurturing, not that men can't do it, but like women just have better hormonal support for it. And I really don't think people realize how much hormones affect your behavior. Okay. So women are much more nurturing with the kids. Okay. So does that make me a bad stay-at-home dad because I don't have that? Maybe. But you know what really actually makes me a bad stay-at-home dad is ADHD. Because I have 4 creatures that want to crawl all over me all day, and I just can't handle it. It's driving me crazy. Can't stand it. So the dog wants to sit on my lap, and Ethan wants to climb over me, and Asher wants to jump along the couch and jump over me, and I just want to, like, you know, play 5 minutes of Stardew Valley or something like that, or read an article. And if I start reading a Zero Hedge article, like it's a long, really detailed report about flows or something like that, and I start reading it, and I'm a paragraph in, and Asher has decided to open the refrigerator for no reason. And that is probably like the most difficult thing for me to deal with right now, is that it's like, that's so much energy for me. This probably sounds like, oh, that's so stupid, Seth. Like, you can just deal with that. Like, that's no big deal. But to me, it is so unbearable. I just can't stand it, man. That having the 2 dogs and 2 boys, so hard. So like when my wife came home yesterday and she needed to eat something, so they wanted to stay down there and eat. I laid on my bed and did all of the reading that I wasn't able to get done during the day. If you have an issue with a male dog that marks in the house, go outside and pee in the yard with it. It works. It worked for me. 2 of my dogs are intact. One of them has a propensity to mark, so I go outside with him and piss in the yard. He can't control his desire to want to pee where you are peeing. Oh, really? Yeah, I'll try that. I'll try that. Because it's absolutely, like, especially we have a gate so that he can't get upstairs. But, you know, if he's sitting there and we open the gate and he'll run through, and then immediately the first thing that he'll start doing is peeing somewhere. Like, it will be like on the stairs. Like, maybe that one's just he gets too excited, but it's like a new spot, I have to mark it. Oh. So he's not allowed upstairs or downstairs because of the pee. That, you know, if I do end up moving, like in 5 years from now, I think that we're going to have to replace the carpet in that front room, because between dogs peeing on it and kids spilling soda on it every day, probably going to have to replace the carpet to sell it. You know, have carpet, yeah. My, you know, so I don't think my wife, my wife, she grew up in Texas, in like a middle of nowhere town. Her dad was a nuclear safety engineer, and their house had no carpet. Like, they wanted a house that was all tile, essentially. Easier to clean or something like that. I actually don't like that, because like just all the dust stays on the floor and gets kicked up, and it's not actually very good for allergies unless you really have a lot of air filters and stuff, right? But easier to clean, and I think that was kind of the main reason for it, because they're not really like cleaning, really into the cleaning thing. My mom is so into the cleaning. I'm getting into the cleaning because I got allergies. They're super bad. Okay, but she doesn't. So I just don't think that she really knows to deal with carpet. Because when I was a kid, man, if you tried to take a drink or food out of the kitchen, there was hellfire waiting for you. You did not do that. We were not allowed to eat in the family room, and that never happened. And these kids, they just do whatever they want, and you can't seem to stop them. Trying to tell Asher, no, you have to eat it here. It just doesn't work. It just doesn't work. He doesn't have the attention span. He will take it over there. and he will have the drink over there, and then Ethan will probably kick it and spill it. Try it. No. Okay, so I've learned something about this too. Oh my gosh. Oh, this is okay. Dealing with an autistic child is so frustrating. So one of the issues with an autistic child is that they just don't understand social cues. So like, if you're frustrated about something and you're ranting about it, he doesn't understand that you're unhappy about it. I don't know how much of what we're saying he understands. It seems like he understands most of the things that we say, but he can't talk. He's almost 5. He'll be 5 in a few weeks. So I started taking to really exaggerating if it mattered. So if he does something that is really dangerous, or we're not going to allow that to happen, I will play it up. I will try to act as angry as I can about it, because that's the only way that he understands, it seems like, what's going on. Well, don't do that. If you ever get an autistic kid, don't do that. It'll be tempting, but it doesn't actually work. It makes it worse, because what happens then is, yes, he does understand what's going on, but you get this right. It's like somebody yelling at you. It gets your adrenaline going, right? And the whole issue with his condition is that he doesn't have the chemical support in his brain. The only thing that gets the brain working is like somebody yelling at you like that, for instance. Right? So what happens is he starts to go into this mode where the only way that he can get the chemical rise that he needs is by being naughty. So then he will go into a mode where he's just he knows what you don't want him to do, and he will go and do all of those things. So I had to switch from, well, okay, I think he understands why that this is dangerous and this is dangerous, and we don't have to do that stuff anymore. So now when he is being bad, I am like the most gentle parent you can possibly do. I grab him gently, I move him to a different place, I stop him from doing the thing, and I make it the most uneventful, boring thing that you possibly can. And then he stops doing those things. Wouldn't that end up building his emotions into crazier instabilities? So I could see how that could, but like, let me tell you something, man, with autism. So one of the things that I see a lot on TikTok from the autistic community, because TikTok has figured out that I'm interested in autism, but it's not necessarily sure if it's because I have a child with autism or because I have autism. But trying to get on parents with autistic children talk is kind of hard, because most of it is women saying, oh, look at how wonderful my children are. No, I don't, that's not the kind of content about having children with autism that I want to hear about. I want to hear about, like, which doctors did you see and which treatments are you getting, and you know, all of this sort of stuff. They don't actually teach you how to deal with the condition. Yeah, disability communities are aggravating. The aggravating thing about the autistic community, though, is that the condition prevents you from understanding the condition. So I think of autism as people with zero intuition. If you have zero intuition, like, can you imagine that? You don't think about walking. You just get up and you do it. You don't think about what you're going to say in a conversation. Maybe sometimes you do, or you do it afterwards, or maybe if you're ADHD like me, you do a little bit of that analysis. But most people don't think, they just do. They know what to say. The thought comes in and they just say it. And people with autism don't have this. That part that just kind of works automatically and gives you, that doesn't, that's what it is it's zero intuition. So if you have never experienced intuition, how do you understand what intuition is if you've never experienced it? You see what I mean? So you have this situation where there's these people, there's one mode of thinking that's incredibly important to people's lives that they just don't understand at all. And then you have everybody else in society that they just don't understand living without that kind of thinking. Like, it doesn't even occur to you that there can be people out there that aren't able to think like that. So, of course, once you explain it to them, the people that have, it's something that people with intuition can figure out very, very easily. So neurotypical people are perfectly equipped to be able to deal with autistic people. All they have to do is have awareness. There just has to be general awareness that there are people with autism. This is what autism is, and this is how we need to deal with them, right? But for the people in the autistic community, like, they just don't get it. They just don't understand it. And you'll teach them things to help them deal with their condition, and they will completely misunderstand it and turn it into something different. And so one of the things that comes up over and over again is that they have this idea that, like, that, because we want to make accommodations for them and things like that, they interpret that as, well, the reason that we have a problem is because this world is actually designed for neurotypical people. And my way of thinking is not like a disorder or anything like that. It's just a different way. And if our society was set up for people with my way of thinking, then it wouldn't be a disability. Wrong. If like everybody was autistic and then you had the one person that was a neurotypical person, that neurotypical person would be a god in that society, okay? It is such a huge advantage, those modes of thinking, especially if you are able to utilize them together. Okay, that's where you really get truly intelligent, effective people. And so you got all these people that are like, I have trauma because society is not designed for me. And that's what the autistic community likes to talk about most. It's total bullshit. That's not the reality. It's not the reality. It is a real disability. But there's the trauma aspect of it. Do you have a trauma because the society isn't designed for you and that just naturally leads to the trauma? No. Autism is trauma. Like, basically what happens is because you don't have the chemicals, because the synapses are not firing in the brain correctly, it takes a strong synapse for things to actually happen. And so autistic people can have a hard time learning things or developing an intuition for something unless it's traumatic. And so everything about their very being becomes trauma because the medulla is like the only part of the brain that really works really well. And it's crazy. So I kind of used that to my advantage in the beginning, trying to teach my child things that are dangerous or really just not okay. But then I've created something that basically can't function unless there's some sort of trauma going on. Well, I think that I've been able to fix that and kind of like escalate back off of that. So then he has shifted to stimming. Now what I get is just like insane amount of stimming. So now, you know, he'll want to be on his iPad for he's addicted to the iPad, of course, but he will get to this mode where he has to jump and run around the room and spin for hours. Yeah, when he shifts to gooning, you're in deep shit. Probably. That's probably exactly what's gonna happen, man. Yeah. And that's probably also part of why you get like some autistic men, it's like it's creepy. It's because they're gooning or like honestly, a potential partner is like a huge boost of dopamine. So they will just get obsessed. This is another one of those things that kind of like really bothers me. Like, it really bothers me that our society kind of almost glorifies being avoidantly attached. There's this like dynamic where one person is really anxious and really wants to be around the person, and the other person is avoidant and doesn't want to be around it. And the people get into this thing where like as soon as they start to feel close with people, it makes them feel anxious and then they push them away. And all of these kind of attachment problems that people have. And the kind of person that's like that in dating, people glorify it because it's like that's power in the relationship or something like that. It's stupid. It's actually causing a lot of problems in society. We'd all be better if we put more effort into being secure partners. Because having a secure partner, that's when people are the most effective. Those are the people that are willing to take risks, that are doing things, etc., 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 right? Okay, so the person that is avoidant, they get glorified, but the person that is anxious, everybody looks down on them. Even though it's like, you know, that might just be, there's kind of some evidence that suggests that your attachment style, that there is some genetic predisposition to them too, right? To become anxious. And so everybody just goes, oh, well, they're anxiously attached and you shouldn't be that way, right? When really, if you actually understand like how to deal with it, right? Like if an autistic boy becomes interested in you, please be kind. Probably the best thing to do is to let them have access to you until they lose interest in it. Like if you are avoidant, if you try and push them away, then what they do is they just sit and ruminate about how much they want to be around you, and they get a huge dopamine rush from that. Just think like the true feeling of dopamine is wanting. You want that thing. So that's dopamine being released. Because dopamine is released in trying to get something and not when you actually get the thing, right? So when somebody is like that, like they're stalking you or whatever the deal is, and you kind of like are touch and go with them, like you kind of entertain it for a little bit, but then you don't like them, you push them away, and they try and push their way in, and then you push them away, and there's this push and pull sort of thing going on. That gives them such a high, it makes it so much worse. Whereas if you're just like, okay, there's this thing, we can't necessarily be together, but you know, I'm gonna be a completely secure relationship for you. They will completely lose interest in it because it doesn't generate the dopamine for them. For real. For real. You had to look gooning up. It's a new, I haven't seen that phrase until like the past, I want to say 6 months. So like it was always a thing, like there's been subreddits and stuff for it, but it's kind of turned into more colloquial use to explain any kind of content that seems sexual. So they're talking about gooners. So there are like groups of men online that all they want is to just be horny all day. This is basically what that is. So like if you go on, like one of the where you're seeing this usage the most is people complaining about Instagram and Facebook and the content that they're shown there. Because if you're a man and you get on Instagram, like open up your Instagram app and press the search button, and it will show you like content from other people before you start searching. And like, what does it show you? And if you're a man, I almost guarantee that it will just show you hot chicks in underwear. Like, it's just gooner content. Yeah, Google correlates it most with edging. Yeah, the use of it is changing. Like, it used to be a like what do you call it? A fetish or something that is basically like being horny all afternoon, edging all afternoon or something like that. But it's kind of turned into anything that is content intended to arouse people. Or people that, the gooners are people that like the content that's intended to arouse people. And so now there's this whole thing with like, you know, like it kind of plays into that Chad meme, and I've seen I'm seeing stuff about it on TikTok all the time now. It's like it's expanded beyond that for some reason to explain a phenomenon that we're seeing in social media where the algorithm just only wants to show you hot girls. So it's gooner content. They want to turn you all. Facebook wants to turn everybody into gooners because that's the content that it shows. It pushes it. It just knows that you're a man, and because men like that stuff, it just says, okay, we're just gonna. It's kind of funny because it seems to me that TikTok has throttled the e-thoughts. It used to be, there was this point like in 2020 where it was like, yep, all these girls on OnlyFans, they're making so much money, etc., etc., etc. And then what happened was there was a couple of girls that kind of like consolidated and became the main e-girl influencers. And then TikTok stopped pushing the content. So only the girls with the really big followings still get stuff with it. And it seems to me like the girls trying becoming a bop in 2025 is not a good business, apparently. Is what it looks like. How come you don't look at energy at all, such as crude? What do you think this is right here? Oh, I should use yellow. That's what that is. So we have it up. Yeah, the algo. So, but I'm saying it seems to me like TikTok is basically like is actually throttles e-girl content now, because they know that it's like people find it on their own and they like it so much that you have to take it out of the algorithm, or the algorithm will just optimize towards showing Gooner content. And Instagram hasn't figured that out yet. So more broadly, everything that I look at, like Facebook and social media and everything, it looks to me like overfit models. This is what it looks like to me. That's why like Facebook and Instagram suck now, because they're overfitted basically. Oh, by the way, I should take this off now because we are past 9 o'clock. So. Yeah, anyways, the thing that I worry most about though with my kid is like if he really remains nonverbal, and like, so is it going to be like he's still going to go to school and like the classmates will know him, but he'll just be taking special ed classes? Or is he going to be going to a special autistic school? And like, do I have to worry about other people abusing him? You know, like, I've already seen that video where like these people, like they kidnapped an autistic man and were like, well, he was like an Aspie. He was verbal, but he was very, very autistic. And they were like torturing him, you know? Like, that's the sort of shit that I worry about, man. I just don't, you know, like for me, I have ADHD, so the whole thing that is like doing a certain behavior will stimulate the release of dopamine is something that I really, really understand. I've kind of learned ways to be like for me, having a secure partner ends up being like really, really important, because you don't want to get stuck in that trap of dopamine wanting girls, or getting stuck in the Gooner content or things like that. But if you can replace it with like the oxytocin and vasopressin and the chemicals that are released just from a long-term relationship, I find that I'm so much more productive, and that really makes a big difference, right? But with Asher and autism, I don't know how you sort that, how you deal with that stuff. Weird. Take your son to a boxing gym? I have a punching bag out. And so yesterday, well, I have a lot of things for them to, you know, we have a good set of activities for them to do. It's kind of the issue is like keeping their attention for an amount of time. Like there's just not going to be like it's kind of more of a Seth problem, right? If I'm really going to do something, like I'm going to totally make a video, or I'm going to do some indicators or some NinjaTrader stuff where I'm going to start building your platform, I need 4 hours of uninterrupted time. You're not going to get that with him, right? And, you know, it's like they're not going to go more than a minute. They're not going to go more than 5 minutes without touching you or doing something where you have to intervene. And that just drives me crazy. Teach you to defend yourself? I think you're talking about somebody that I would never be able to effectively defend themselves, even if they punched a punching bag a lot. I'll have to look that up. Are there people that are nonverbal autistic boxers? Nonverbal autistic boxer. Okay, they exist. They do exist. Okay, anyways, if we've gone too long, I do have a little bit of... My wife does work today, but not until the afternoon, so I've got a little bit of time. I think I'm going to try and edit this video, so I'm going to get going, guys. I will see you Monday. By the way, to the earlier thing we were talking about, things that we can do to help the stream, think about titles. You can put in, you know, if something's going on, things that really helps the stream the most. So I will see, or the live streams. That's the biggest difference in live streams. So I'll see you guys Monday. Stay